welcome everybody back. I'm going to be mediating this seminar until Sagi is back. Sagi Cohen is Associate Professor in the Geography Department, and he's on sabbatical for 1 year, so he asked me to step in and lead this seminar until he's back. And so, to start with, I would like to go around like we usually do and introduce ourselves because I see some new faces. And I'm going to start with myself. My name is Natasha Dimova, and I'm Associate Professor in the Department of Geological Sciences. I work on groundwater surface water interactions in mostly coastal areas. I'm a field person. I do not do modeling, probably because most of you are modelers from engineers and not. And so that's me. Let's start from this side. Do you want to introduce yourself? Or maybe you can start from that. Okay, start from here.
Hello, my name is Junho Song from South Korea. This is my first year, and my advisor is Dr. Kang.
What do you guys do? What is your area of expertise?
Actually, my major topic, the research topic is dam failure for the Lake Tuscaloosa Dam here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's all.
Hopefully it's not gonna fail. Lake Tuscaloosa is the major source for drinking water for Tuscaloosa, so we heavily rely on that. Okay, so.
I'm Austin Rainey. I am an undergraduate research assistant for Dr. Cohen, and I focus on floodwater depth estimation in coastal regions using remote sensing.
Just to mention, Sagi is in Hawaii, and he didn't take his students. That tells you about what advisor he is.
Yes, I work with Dr. Cohen too. I'm a PhD student. I work on global scale fluvio-geomorphological changes of river deltas using satellite remote sensing and numerical models.
Hi, I'm J.R. Song, and my advisor is Dr. Hamid Murakami. I'm a graduate student in the Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering. I'm interested in hydrology and extreme climates. Now I'm trying to work on how the relationships are between hurricane activity and climate variable. Climate change.
Hey, I'm Ali. I'm a postdoc with Dr. Wakani in Civil Engineering Department again. My expertise include hydrologic modeling and hydrology, basically, and climate change impacts on it. And more recently, some, let's say, human flavor to it, like vulnerability and risk assessments.
Okay.
I'm Jonathan Frame. I'm a first-year PhD student, and I'm working with Professor Nearing on, and I'll be doing a hydrologic data assimilation.
I'm Jackson Stewart. I'm a first-year master's student with Dr. Nova, and I study sediment flux into the Good Bay. Mark Henry. I'm a student in the accelerated master's program. My advisor is also Dr. Nova. I'm doing research on submarine groundwater discharge and creating a global model.
Hello, I'm Mukesh Kumar. I am a new associate professor in Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. My overarching research goal is about understanding and prediction of hydrological processes. And in that regard, we try to build detailed models. So, you know, with my students over the years, we have built models for looking at surface, subsurface hydrology, coupled surface, subsurface hydrology. It's called PIM model. Then we have developed a forest radiation model for vegetation dynamics, oil plant atmospheric continuum model for understanding vegetation responses, sediment, distributed sediment model, and then hydrodynamic model for dam failure. So anyway, most of these codes are open source, so feel free to send me an email or visit my website and download it.
Yeah, and Rakesh is presenting next week, so you're gonna hear more.
I was.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's right there.
That was
Yeah.
a surprise, but yeah.
Mark Elliott, I'm also in civil and environmental engineering. A lot of my work before I came to UA, when I first got here, was on water and sanitation in developing countries. But our family has grown exponentially recently. We had triplets in May, we already have a couple other kids. So I'm now working in developing counties of Alabama on wastewater and water quality.
Hi, I'm Glenn Tootle, and I apologize I'm gonna have to sneak out of here because I have class at 1 o'clock across campus, but thank you for organizing this, by the way. I'm in civil and environmental engineering and primarily work in paleohydrology, do some work with tree rings and looking at reconstructing flows moving back in time, and a little bit of climate. I do a lot of work with colleagues over in geography, Matt Farrell, Lisa Davis, and such.
Hey everyone, I'm Joanna, and I'm also from geography. I'm interested in the hydroclimate of southeastern United States and particularly applications for hydropower production. I'm also overseeing the library, the map library, I should say, of university, which is a huge collection of maps, and we'll give away some free ones throughout the fall, so keep your eyes open.
I'm Rachel Lombardi. I'm a first-year PhD student in the Department of Geography. I work with Lisa Davis in the fluvial geomorphology group, and my research is in paleoflood hydrology. We use sediments and soils to reconstruct past flood events in the Holocene predominantly, and we're interested. We do that sort of thing not only for paleoclimate research, but also for nuclear and dam infrastructure interests.
I'm Ronna Donahoe. I'm in the Department of Geological Sciences. I am a low-temperature aqueous geochemist, interested in everything about water pretty much, but my specialty area is trace elements, contamination remediation. My lab has developed several remediation techniques for various trace element contaminants in soil and water. And members of my group also look at biological processes, how they mediate trace element mobility in the environment, as well as carbon sequestration work. So I do geochemical modeling, but not hydrological.
I'm David Keelings. I'm in the geography department. I'm a climatologist. I do work mostly with extremes of meteorological variables. Mostly I've done work with temperatures, particularly heat waves. I model those. They're a hot topic. I get more of a laugh. No one listening. Anyway, I mean, students usually laugh at that. Anyway, I do heat wave modeling mostly. I also do a little bit with precipitation. Lately, I've been working with a colleague from Puerto Rico, looking at the passage of Maria through Puerto Rico, trying to look at how extreme that hurricane was and trying to attribute it to how much we can attribute it to natural variability versus climatic change. I also teach a class this semester called Intro to Geostatistics using R. I recognize some people in here that are taking it, so hopefully it will be of use for, I mean, I'm teaching it from a climatological perspective, but we're going to do work with some hydrologic data and some other cool data sets in there too, so that should be fun. And I believe I'm getting a talk on the 21st, but I'm not up there. I don't
I
think.
will make sure that you appear here.
Yes, I'm talking about some work that we've done looking at projections of very long consecutive dry periods in the southeast using some timescale climate models. So that will hopefully be of interest.
Hi, I'm Carla Atkinson. I'm an assistant professor in biological sciences. You may or may not see me anymore this semester. I actually organized the seminar series for the biology department, which coincides with this time, and we don't have a seminar this week. Anyhow, I'm an aquatic ecologist, and my research has spanned everything from examining how river flows, environmental flows, alter community assembly facility dynamics and growth rates of communities. We also do a lot examining how animals influence biogeochemical nutrient recycling rates. And so yeah, if you're interested in any of that, come talk to me.
My name is Mohammed Sharif. I'm from Aerospace Engineering Department. I'm associate professor with there. My general area is numerical modeling of flow, heat transfer type of problem. I have diverse experience. I have some experience of river flow modeling and carbon sequestration, carbon dioxide sequestration in the rocks.
I'm Gray Nearing. I'm an assistant professor in the Geological Sciences Department. I do work on hydrometeorology modeling, large-scale hydromet modeling. Specifically, my specific interests are in uncertainty quantification, data assimilation, remote sensing, calibration, model diagnostics. I do a little work with terrestrial carbon flux modeling, but most of it's pretty water-related stuff. And yeah, that's about it.
And we have actually a visitor who will have, who will introduce himself after we finish some business, but still give us some few words about you.
Okay. This is Dr. Nihat Akalaklo. I'm working as associate professor in the Department of Geological Engineering at Kocaeli University, Turkey. My related area is hydrogeology, contaminant hydrogeology, contaminant transport in porous media for different pollutants, and mostly soil and groundwater remediation. And also, we take part some projects with the other universities in the States, with the University of Alabama and also the University of Arizona still. And hopefully we're going to have some more opportunity with the other colleagues. And I'll be very happy with that. Also my department will be so happy.
I'm Jeff Tick. I'm a professor in geological sciences. Very similar to Hakan here. My interests are contaminant hydrogeology as well as remediation of soil, contaminated soil and groundwater systems. Most of my, I guess, expertise is organic pollutants, solvents and hydrocarbons, petroleum hydrocarbons, as well as emerging contaminants like pharmaceuticals, perfluorinated carbons, and other chemicals like pesticides and herbicides as well. I guess other interests include recovery of petroleum hydrocarbons as well, using chemical enhanced flushing agents and other kind of extraction means, and other, say, in situ destruction methods for different types of soil and groundwater contaminants.
Hi, I'm Hamed Montahai, new hire of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, assistant professor. And talking about interests, I would call it sort of like under the broader umbrella of coastal hydrology. I see some of you working on that. And more specifically saying, sort of complementary to what you do. So you're working mostly on underground groundwater. My research focuses on estuarine hydrodynamics, sea level rising tides, and you're a field person. I'm a numerical modeling person.
That's great.
Mainly numerical modeling, data analysis, statistical analysis. I would call them like multi-hazard risk assessment at the coastal regions, where the events are mainly compound of multiple drivers. And in terms of teaching interest, I'm mainly, well, for the next semester, I'll be teaching open channel flow, which mainly hydraulics and fluvial processes, sediment transport, and a little bit touch on estuarine hydrodynamics would be the main emphasis of the course. And for the following semester, I'm picking up coastal water resources processes, which goes more into detail at the ground level for the coastal water resources, salinity intrusion, and
really
hydrodynamics.
Oh, there he is. Now we're gonna pick up on you right away, because you need to introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm running from a meeting, so.
That's okay.
I'm supposed to introduce myself? Okay.
Yes.
Prabhakar Clement, I teach in the civil engineering. I'm a primarily groundwater hydrologist.
Oh, okay, that was short. So the main point for this introduction is to know who we are, but also this is actually a very unique seminar, and this is how we defend our existence. There is no other seminar on campus which actually brings together people from arts and sciences, such as geology, geography, who do earth science, with people from engineering. And we also, you will see, I have some ideas to introduce people from outside of this field, like people who do water policy. And this is our biggest strength. There is no other gathering around campus that combines so many people from so many different areas. And this is actually a big advantage for ourselves, because this will give you opportunity to see who are the new people in the university and how we can reach out to collaborate and write for faculties, and not only for faculty but also graduate students, how we can write these large grants that the administration is pushing on us to write on, and actually excel our research. Because nowadays, as we know, interdisciplinary research is very favorable, but the fact is that each of us have our own seminars in our own departments, and we often don't meet with colleagues outside of our departments. And this seminar, the goal of this seminar is to bridge between people from different areas, from different departments and different colleges. So this is how we justify the food we have, and this is how we justify our existence here. I'm really pleased to see many students, because that's another thing that administration is very interested to see. Not only faculty coming to have lunch, but introduce their students. And from our perspective, is students hear what other faculties are doing and what kind of classes they're offering. Again, often my students look only at classes in my department, but I found specifically in engineering recently some very exciting new classes that my students, and I'm pretty sure your students, will take advantage of. Again, there's no other place where you can hear about this stuff unless you take the initiative of digging into different colleges, which often doesn't happen. But if you're here and you hear about what other professors are teaching, you might take advantage of those classes. So I think this is a big benefit for this group, and we should definitely treasure this and keep it going. So, on the second point of my sort of agenda that I sent around, I wanted guys to acknowledge people who have achieved big things during the last semester. And I've heard Carla got a big grant. Is that true, Carla?
It's true.
Can you tell us more about it? Because this is a stimulation for us. What can we do? If these people get it, we can get it too. So tell us more about that.
This project is through the National Science Foundation's Dimensions of Biodiversity program. And so explicitly what they're looking at is for people to look at biodiversity across various hierarchical scales. And with that, you're examining diversity not just at kind of just like species level diversity, what species are there, but also we're going to be examining population genetic structure of freshwater mussels, and we're also going to be incorporating metrics of phylogenetic diversity, so how related are these various lineages of different species. So some of the rivers that we work in, we have upwards of 50 species that occur in really dense aggregations and rivers, and I've been working with mussels since I did my master's degree. And then on top of that, what are these animals doing? So this this is known as functional diversity. So within an ecosystem, what ecosystem processes are they providing? And how does that link to those other metrics of diversity, such as the relatedness along the phylogeny and also the population genetic structure? And when I'm talking about their functional diversity, we're looking at how they influence nutrient recycling rates, and also how their movement patterns might influence things like such as sediment bioturbation and processes such as denitrification. And then layered on top of all of that, we're also looking at their gut microbial communities. And so some of the preliminary data that we have in this proposal suggests that regardless of what location you're at within a river, your gut microbial community is dictated based on your species identity. And so we want to kind of go into that further. So that data, those data were based on data collected on the Sipsey River, which is just west of town. And so we have species-specific gut microbial communities across 6 different sites. And these animals are occurring in really dense aggregations where we can have upwards of 200 individuals per meter squared, so they're occurring right next to one another, but having distinct gut microbial communities. And we can find some of these same species in other rivers, such as the Cahaba River or the Bochita Creek. And so now we're expanding this to several river basins within the Mobile Basin and in the Tennessee River Basin, where we have a completely different assemblage of species, but when we look along how they're phylogenetically related, we could take, for example, one species that's in the genus Cycloneus that's in the Mobile Basin, and another species that's in Cycloneus in the Tennessee region, and see, are their gut microbial communities more similar if they're more phylogenetically similar. And so we'll be working across a lot of rivers. We'll be putting out a lot of data loggers. So if anyone's interested in this data, we're putting out water temperature and loggers and pressure transducers, and also conductivity loggers. And we plan to have those loggers recording every 30 minutes. And I'm happy to share with you the locations of these sensors that we'll have out, and that's to kind of give us an environmental signal. That way, that'll be another parameter in our models when we're trying to discern what's going on.
So, can you tell us about mechanisms of how who are your collaborators?
Oh,
and no,
yes.
The background, of course, the topic is interesting, but like, I want us to share more success stories in terms of how did you end up with these people to write this proposal and things like that, just mechanistics of the proposal.
Well, so one of the other collaborators on this project that's here at University of Alabama is Jeff Lozier. He's a population geneticist, so he'll be doing that component of it, and we've written some proposals in the past, like pretty much when I got here we started talking. He works primarily on bees. So we wrote a few proposals together for integrative organismal systems. And then I went and gave a seminar at Ole Miss 2 years ago and got talking to Colin Jackson while I was over there, and we just kind of hit it off, and I ended up sending him samples, which ended up being some of the preliminary data in the proposal. So he's doing the gut microbial community component of the project, and then another researcher at Ole Miss in the biology department, Ryan Garrick. He does phylogenetics, primarily works on beetles, but he jumped on board this project, and so it's Jeff and I here, and then Ryan and Colin at Ole Miss. So it's a collaborative proposal, so about $1 million is coming to UA, and then $500,000 is going to Ole Miss to conduct that work. With that, there'll be new faces. Hopefully I'm recruiting for a postdoc and a PhD student. Jeff's recruiting for a PhD student, and then there'll be a postdoc at Ole Miss and PhD students in each of the labs at Ole Miss. So
that's awesome. That's really awesome. So I think what we have have to think about when we go for collaboration and how to use this seminar to help us for collaboration is to probably invite people from outside even. Like, yes, you know, we see what we're doing here, but apparently visiting all the meetings, giving that talk that you gave, and making that connection was one critical part of getting this proposal out together.
Yeah, and yeah, putting in the work, so it was a lot of work collecting all those samples, but then got them over to Colin.
So the other goal of this seminar is to bring people from outside, and we have no budget this semester, I have to say, but I have been reaching out for people in their respective departments who have already invited somebody to give a seminar in our seminar too. And by the way, Dr. Clement and I had a proposal which was initiated just like that. Before he came to UA, he came to this seminar, gave a talk. We sat in my office and argued loudly for 2 hours about surface groundwater interaction, and we sat together and wrote a small proposal, got funded. But I think this works, and I think this is the idea we are doing these things, the interdisciplinary thing. So if you guys again know somebody who is coming to town, I'm gonna post this schedule on our webpage. Yes.
I was just gonna say there's 2 people giving talks in the biology department, depending on if we wanna move and ask them to give 2 talks.
Okay.
So one's Kevin.
Please do send me an email.
Okay.
I really want to see more biology people, and it's unfortunate that we have our seminar exactly at the same time. And I have been working with Sagi before he left, and with Bezat Marzavi, who is the new department chair of biology, to make some compromises and move. Either they will move their seminar or we will move our seminar. The original idea was at least to move it for 11 o'clock, our seminar, but then the logistics didn't work out. And then biology apparently has been doing this for years. They have their seminar for
Been a seminar for 10 years or
10 years or more. So we're kind of this difficult situation, but I do think that we are missing biologists in this group for making, writing more attractive proposals. So I'm gonna be working on this to figure out how to accommodate these people. Because I remember in previous semesters, whenever we had invited biologists, there was no free space in this room. So people were sitting on the floor. That means that there is a big interest, it's an indication for me that there is a big interest that we're lacking these people in our group. So we'll do our best to figure this out. But again, if you guys have some interesting people coming to campus, please feel free to email me, and I will try to accommodate them in our seminars till at 12 o'clock. So we'll see how we're gonna do with the biology people. Anybody, I knew about Carla's funding and proposal and success. Anybody else wants to share information about something exciting that they did over the summer? Glenn? You are now on.
I'll be brief.
He's the superstar in our department
not
right
at
now.
all. We were very fortunate.
That's the other thing. I think we should have more confidence about ourselves that we're doing great stuff.
Yeah,
So.
I have zero confidence.
Me too, but if we put our confidence together, then we'll probably grow.
Yeah, I'm used to standing in front of like 600 guys and girls in a battalion. But anyway, first of all, I'm very fortunate in the last year working. First, I need to give credit to the colleagues on this. It'd be Emily Elliott, Matt Farrell, and John Cam, and also Bennett Bearden, if you know those cohorts. We hit on back-to-back awards, one with the Environmental Protection Agency Gulf of Mexico program, about $300,000 to look at paleo flows coming in and out of the state and in the state of Alabama. And then Matt Farrell's the lead PI on that. And then we just found out about 2 weeks ago that I, as the lead PI, hit with the National Science Foundation's Payload Perspectives for Climate Change program for a little over 400,000, about 350 coming to Alabama to extend this work into the southeast, looking at interstate flows. We know, I lived out west, even I'm a southerner, I lived out west for a while, and the south's becoming the west with regards to water wars and such as the Colorado River Basin. We're starting to see it with the Apalachicola, Chattahoochee Flint system, and others. So this work's going to focus on trying to establish what those flows are. So again, we got lucky, and as I jokingly say, a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. And I couldn't have done it without some wonderful colleagues across campus in the sciences department, and a fantastic postdoc, his better half, and who really helps us out and makes this work. So we're excited about the work, and hopefully once we do the work, which I guess we have to now, we'll present some of the findings here at the.
That would be great. Ray, do you
And
want
again, I
some-
apologize. I have class of ones I have to sneak out. So.
Great. Did you get a grant in the spring, late spring or something with NASA? Something that I've heard about?
In the spring, yeah, nothing, I didn't do anything over the summer.
Okay. All right, so with regards to proposals, if you guys see a call, now that we know who is doing what, and if you see a call out there that you think that you can find collaborators for, we can dedicate time, and there are plenty of open spots here on presenting this call and trying to identify who are the people who can collaborate on that. So this is something new that we haven't done in the past, but I want to do in the seminar. I don't want it to be just a regular seminar that somebody's coming, presenting, and going out, but to have more interaction and collaboration that would eventually end up in large proposals and projects like that. So if, again, you guys in engineering see something about coastal seawater, groundwater interaction, I would like to bring out this and try to identify who can collaborate to make this happen. Right. I guess this is going towards our third point, which I put in the agenda, talking about priorities and future directions. That's what we want to do, and eventually we'll succeed in that. All right, so next part of our agenda is introducing our first guest, who sort of gave us some idea of who he is. And we'll start from here.
So, you know me now. This is my education part. So, I finished my PhD in 2012 in the Department of Geology and Engineering in Turkey. This is my experience. I was also working at the University of Arizona Swiss Department between 2010 and 13, and became associate professor early 2017. My courses taught were undergrad courses: hydrogeology, introduction to soil and groundwater remediation, well hydraulic, environmental geology, and also I have 2 classes in graduate course as a graduate courses, selected topics in hydrogeology and environmental hydrogeology. And those are my related subjects, as I mentioned: hydrogeology, contaminant hydrogeology, soil and groundwater remediation, and mostly soil and groundwater remediation and contaminant transport in porous media. And recently I have started working on the risk assessment of hazardous materials by using different compounds. Those are my peer-reviewed publications. Some of them was categorized like red color means Those are about fate and transport of different compounds, such as some organic compounds, or some of them are about pesticides and arsenic, chromium, some heavy metals. The green ones are about some field scale projects. I took part some field scale projects also in the States and also in my country. They were mostly about remediation of some substances such as nitrate contamination. I took part some projects. And also in my country, Turkey, we have some industrial areas which were contaminated by severely heavy metals. So those were kind of the site characterization studies. So I took part. And my main area is about remediation of chlorinated solvents in heterogeneous porous media. And also, as you see, in 2018, I have some publications about that. I'm going to give more details in upcoming slides. And projects involved, those are completed ones. Those are mostly about transport of pollutants in the porous media and actual soils, and also remediation of chlorinated solvents in different systems, as you see here. And I have some ongoing projects right now. TÜBİTAK is the best funding company in my country, Turkey. This is mostly about remediation of deniable mixtures in heterogeneous porous media using various agents. So right now we are still working on, and by comparing the other flushing agents on remediation efforts. And I have two university research funds in my department. Those are fate and transport of various herbicides and also pesticides in some Turkish agricultural soils. And I would like to keep on working about these by making some additional collaborations also with here or with the other departments in the States or all around the world. And as I said, I have just started working on risk assessment for arsenic contaminated soil and groundwater. We have some polluted area in terms of arsenic in our country, severely contaminated. And most of the people are calling up to ill like cancer because of that situation. That's why we want to work on that by especially assessment the risk for the people. So we are creating some, or we are searching some exposure scenarios to identify those aspects. And right now also we have some collaborations, but also we have to extend them with the University of Alabama. Professor Dr. Jeffrey Tick is here. So we have some collaborations together. And at the same time, we have some collaboration with the University of Arizona regarding remediation of Naples and also the recovery of crude oil from the porous media. This is also our new task, so we are still working on that. And that's it. So if you have any question, any supportive thing, then I'll be
Any questions? So I guess I want to ask you very practical questions about what are the mechanisms of funding in the system in Turkey, in the university system in Turkey. You mentioned this agency TÜBİTAK.
Yes.
So when, for example, we want to write a proposal to TÜBİTAK,
Yes.
does it have to? Are you allowed to have international collaborators, or how does it work?
So in my country, for example, if you want to write a proposal to TÜBİTAK, so TÜBİTAK is the best. There are, of course, there are some other ones, but those are really hard sometimes. They are requiring huge budget, and TÜBİTAK is the average, but also very efficient for professors and scientists in my country. So you're writing up a proposal and also making submission to TÜBİTAK. Then also there is a limit. So of course this is changing in terms of United States dollar, because there isn't any certain regulation between or balance between US dollar and Turkish lira. This is changing, but there are some limits for annual. Once you make application, you are also making some arrangement. So for some materials, of course, you have to buy to do some experiments. You can also give funding to your students, master and PhD students. You have to be, otherwise those are really hard and sometimes long experiments you have to do, or in the field. So you definitely need some students. Plus, of course, in order to be accepted for this, you may need some international collaborations. That is going to enhance the acceptance of your project. And also you can, FÜBİTAK is providing you some amount to do research out of country. Not for long term, but you may have some visits like me that I do it now. So this is up to you. But if you have it, you will have more chance because we have some reviewers. They are examining our proposals, at least 3. Then they discuss in a committee. Then they decide. They announce it. So if you want to have accepted proposals, it should be the original. So significance is also very important. You may have some students. Student has to be there. Also international collaborations. If you have, that is going to be better to
Okay.
have that chance.
So I guess this is a good thing for us.
So
that-
with the funding mechanisms then, just to kind of sum up, would that be like, would it come all to the PI there and then distributed somehow? It probably wouldn't support international students from your perspective. It would probably just support Turkish students?
This part is for mostly Turkish students, but since we don't have any international students around in our country too much, there are some, but they are also coming with their own funding. So I haven't seen, but there should be some chance. We can also put some international researchers in our project, but that's not feasible that much because that person has to be in Turkey for a while in order to get take advantage of this service. So maybe they should be like in Turkey for more than 3 months sometimes. Not feasible, but also there is a chance to add international researchers into your project. But for mostly Turkish students are taking advantage of that. We can also add some postdocs in our projects together. But I can say maybe 80% Turks. Or, Turkish students should be better because this is also examined by a committee, and committee doesn't want to probably, this is for me, probably doesn't want to support anyone out of country because those monies are coming after long negotiations. Probably this is one of the criteria, I think. But for the principal investigator of the project, this is going to be good. And if you have that kind of project, so your promotions are going faster. So maybe in every 2-3 years, you can get promotion, so professor position, something like that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Is your students you have to fund your graduate students or are they government funded already?
We have some undergrad.
No, your graduate students, do you fund them or
Yes.
are they already funded by the government?
Both. So if you have students without funding from government, so they get good salary. But if you have like research assistant in your department, of course you can also add those to your project. But their salary becomes maybe 25% less than no. All of them works.
And what is the timeline of this from submission to getting potentially awarded?
Takes probably 6 months.
Okay, like
Every two times in a year, you can make an application. For example, from February, you can make an application, and then they announce in their website toward the end of July or something.
Yeah.
Totally 6 months.
By the way, to turn the table around, has anybody looked at international collaborations that are funded by NSF? I know that you can have these international collaborations with different countries, but I don't have the experience myself.
Right now there is a proposal called Fuse China, which is
Right.
about looking at food, energy, water nexus between US and China. The way it works is you have to submit one proposal or identical proposal at for both Chinese National Science Foundation and the Science Foundation. And they will be individually reviewed, and they have to be favorably reviewed in both the countries. And then they sit together, there's a program manager meeting from both sides to make sure how many are favorably reviewed places, and based on that, they make a decision. Something similar that is also there, which is NSF, IRB, or Israel Agricultural some institution.
Mhm.
I can look at exact name. They do it every year,
Mhm.
and it follows a similar template. It's a 2-year proposal,
Mhm.
and the maximum funding is, I think, 300K.
Mhm. And the
For
research
Fuse
has to
China,
be
it's a $1 million proposal. It's a 500K.
for each site.
proposal. Right.
I was actually in a panel of Diffuse China and US, and I have to say that the Chinese side had more proposals approved than us. So in other words, the money from US were very few, and we could get only 2 or 3 proposals out, where the Chinese part would say, we'll fund everything that you approve plus more. So
Right. Yeah, that's, I mean, with
It
the
was-
exchange rates, dollar exchange rate itself, I mean, that makes sense, and they are also putting a lot more money there. Yeah, so that is, I think, correct assessment, I would say.
We also have some agreement between the United States and Turkish government with
Mhm.
NSF,
Okay.
TÜBİTAK NSF, they have collaboration together, but they don't have any deadline.
Okay.
When you are checking out the website, they announce anytime, and they give probably 1 or 2 months. I follow it, but I haven't seen in last one
So
or
does
1
it
year.
mean that you can submit proposal anytime?
Well,
Like, how does it work?
for example, if TÜBİTAK announce
Mhm.
cooperation with United States and Turkey, NSF and Turkey, then probably, well, I haven't seen any in last year, so I'm going to probably think about that if I
Mhm.
See that. Proposal is written common,
Mhm.
so we are coming together, and we are writing up a proposal, and of course, some part should be in the state, some part should be in Turkey, and but there is an agreement between.
But who is reviewing the proposal? Is it a panel in US or in Turkey? Or is it like in the China proposals that we have 2 panels from the 2 countries? Actually 2 different teams, but they agree on doing similar, the same project for the China.
It's not very common in my department, so I don't know actually for sure, but there should be maybe 2 different panels.
Yes.
Because there is a panel in Turkey, they are also coming together or trying to decide which one is okay for supporting. But also, maybe there is a first stage, but I'm not sure actually for sure. Maybe there is one stage, if it passes in Turkey, then they are transferred to United States.
Okay.
Maybe they are announcing. So I don't see any practical thing for now in Turkey, but there is a chance. So I also try to catch it if there is a chance. I will definitely use that because our area is very open for both my country also here. So this, especially for the remediation of DNAPL part, is my main expertise, and I would like to keep on working about that in the future, also in my country, also in the States with the other collaborators. That would be good. Also to attend some field scale project. This is lack in our country, especially the field scale projects. So I would like to have a chance to do some research about that in the States. That is going to also help us to do more.
More questions?
No, I was just talking about the international opportunities.
Yes.
I've been involved during my postdoc, not as a PI, but as sort of muscle.
Mhm.
So, for Belmont Room.
That's a move.
Yeah.
What is it?
BELMONT Room.
It's very selective, however, I mean,
It's what?
it's not as open as it looks.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but their eligibility mentioned there must be collaborators from at least 3 different countries in this proposal. So, but
So Mukesh, what is your experience when you say it's not open? Is it open as it looks?
It's it's open, but you have to have, the right contacts, because the organizations that support it, and this is just based on what I heard from a person who she has been very much involved, and she had proposals through that as well. And,
Okay.
she was saying you have to have the right contacts in different countries and the organizations that support it. So it's not like an open proposal you just put in like in NSF and it will be just like that. It's not like that. I don't know if it's invite based or so I'm not sure.
No,
it's not right.
You can submit proposal. It's not by invitation, but
It's not by invitation.
as he said, you need right person in each country, because there will be some, in the US the funding comes from NSF. In each country there will be a collaborative project between funding agencies of each country. So from each country you know what is responsible, who is responsible for funding your project, depending where you
Actually,
choose.
there is a US-India biannual grant also. It's $1 million grant. I wonder, Prabhakar, do you know?
Yeah, it's part of the, that's kind of a weird one because I've seen cases where they're not collaborate, I mean, they're not coordinated properly, because I've seen cases where it's got funded on the US side, but the Indian side did not fund it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, which is very rare actually. Usually the US side is a lot more competitive when they get funded. And so, but they when you get funded on the US side, they actually proceed further. So there is a weird proposal which got funded in Virginia Tech where the US part got funded, but the entire work supposed to be done in India. And the Indian side did not get funded, so they were like completely in a limbo, so.
Yeah, I've heard Stanford who is part of that kind of proposal. Right now, it was water-related proposal, and their goal was to understand in urban system in south of India how the groundwater depletion, how that has affected adaptations, and how to come up with better urban water distribution network, which is more sustainable.
And those are mostly now, all these programs become without deadlines. So I heard that there's a big drop in submissions, which makes the chances of those who still decide to submit higher, presumably, no?
Right.
So I think we should use this opportunity to submit something, because I really think that this is now the time we had back in time, there's deadlines and everybody tries to submit after for the deadline, and overall the success rate was really low. But now that there is no deadline, apparently people are not put under deadline and they don't submit. Fewer submissions means larger success rate until everybody figures it out. Probably they have.
That's right, yeah. If we figured it out, others have figured it out too, most
But,
likely, so.
Thank you very much for coming. I think at the international string in our group should continue going, and if you guys know of ways to collaborate with other institutions, international institutions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For listening.
Thank you.
So I know, I was thinking, I could probably look out and see what are the deadlines and start sending you emails. This is a deadline for this proposal, you should collaborate on that. But I think this is not working, honestly. And even if I was looking at somebody who sent us a list of deadlines for proposals for the water group, and one of them was for developing foreign languages.
Yeah,
So I think.
you need the AWI list that gets sent
Yeah.
out, the data dump of all the federal opportunities.
Yeah, but
every week. Yeah.
how would
I
you
don't think
send?
I don't think it's remotely useful.
Yeah, how would you send such a call for proposal to group that works in water resources? So my point is here, not to do anything, but I think this is not useful. I think more useful would be if, say, you find a call and you come to the group and say, this is the call, who wants to do that, and just have closer collaboration. This group is really small for that purpose. So meetings like this where we sit around a table are more useful than somebody sending you regular emails and, you know, spamming your mailbox with something that, you know, chances are you're not gonna look.
By the way, Natasha, is it possible to send out email addresses of people who were here today, or?
I will send if you ask
names?
me. Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
And also, we need to update our webpage because there is list of members of this group with their email addresses. And Danuke is helping me fixing, you know, updating the database. But I will send, if you guys want to do that, I will definitely send, because I agree that sometimes, you know, you can't hear the name of the person or anything like that, but you can click and find them later and figure that out. I will do that.
Yeah, AWI is supposed to compile a list, right? How do you send the email compiler?
That's what I'm talking about.
Right?
Have you, what Natasha's saying is right, there were like foreign languages proposals in the list, that's supposed to be water
Yeah,
related.
I mean, in the water
It's basically a
related-
data dump of every federal opportunity. I mean, I can't see how it's being reduced. I
No,
mean-
no, I'm not talking about the calls. I'm talking, she also sent an email
Contact
about the water
Oh, we
faculty
need to become
list or something, right?
affiliated with the AWI,
Yeah, yeah,
which
I
is
know.
different than this group.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So the other thing I have to share here is that we were under a lot of pressure to release this group because they don't see us as a representative of the university and water resources because of the Water Institute being on campus already. But Sagi and I were very firm to continue doing this because we think this is more informal. Most of the time, the Water Institute invites people who are upper administration who we can sit around a table and talk about, like, let's write a proposal. So we insisting on keeping this group for the purpose of having closer connections that potentially would lead to more benefits to our members.
Is there a regular AWI seminar?
Not yet. I was told I approached Patty and asked her if we can combine efforts.
Yeah, can we combine that?
I did that, but there was no understanding of what the purpose of this seminar is, and they said we already have ideas of high rank of people we would invite, and I thought
Which is fine, we'll put it as a slide.
Is there
That's
like
exactly
is
what
there
I
another
wanted to
group
do.
of water faculty like that are all
And so
associated with AWI?
we thought that would be more beneficial for us if we have this group where we can sit around a table and talk about what we want to do, rather than going and sitting in a seminar listening to somebody who is not saying anything about directors.
You can say whatever you want.
Like some director of, I don't know, university, Berkeley, who does something that, I mean, my point was, and Sagi insisted this before he left, and I'm trying to hold on these grounds, is that we want to meet face to face.
So it's really nice to get, last year we had the research talk, so this was basically a research talk seminar that was based on water, and for me this is the more interesting of the research talk groups. But if AWI were to set up a seminar series and this one were to exist, that's 3 seminars I'm required
I
to attend.
understand exactly.
So it could be kind of neat to have a mix to sort of integrate these things and to sort of ensure that there's some research talks in the water seminar series on campus.
That is the goal, and that is the goal also of this seminar, still the goal, which was mostly in the past. What I want to change for this year that I'm here is mostly to have more of close collaborations and talks like this, and not only come here and listen to the next talk. And of course it's interesting, and we actually, Kesh is presenting next week, and we're gonna hear new people coming to the university. But I think it's more beneficial for us if we just, have the talk perhaps, and then, drill him on what kind of collaborations you have. Not only tell us about certain scientific topic that probably half of us won't understand, but for the other half is still beneficial, But also after the person finishes the talk, I want to have at least 15 minutes on how do you get your funding and who you collaborate with and things like that. Do you think that's beneficial?
But I also see his point. It'll be nice to have one seminar, which is, we can have this 10 minutes in the end, but I think it'll be nice to have one seminar where we bring in variety of people, and we may not understand all of it, but it's something good to listen to, right? I mean, I sit in biology, but they talk about, I have no clue about what they're talking, but still I pick several terminologies and ideas.
There is no other place you can hear
That's
about
right.
biology.
Yeah.
That's the point of this seminar. So we're here because I would never go to engineering to make,
So maybe we can do like 3 seminars and 1 discussion.
Yeah.
Over a month, maybe 1 discussion.
Or just have the regular seminars as we do and just have the 10 minutes at the
Could be,
end
yeah.
where we can talk about funding opportunities and whatever guys you want to talk about. And Mukesh suggested also to do a workshop which I
we
will.
did last time. We had a few workshops, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we had on average 2 workshops per semester. That's what we're going to do as well.
Okay.
And so we have already, and actually in biology, another biology faculty approached me and she wants to do LiDAR, introduction to LiDAR measurements for what she's doing for her field work. And at least for now, for this, I have 2 requests for workshops, so I think we're good for this semester.
Okay. Next week is the Alabama Water Resources Association Conference.
Yes.
And I know
Thank
a lot
you.
of people in my department are going to be away. So Mukesh is scheduled to speak during that conference. So
should we
are you
move
gonna be
it?
down there? Yeah.
I will be there too, by the way.
Yeah,
I will,
Gino's gonna be
actually
there.
the
I'll be
seminar.
there.
I have an empty schedule this semester, so you can move
Let me
there
pull
or
out
be
again the
there.
spreadsheet.
I'm just saying it might be better to push it later in September.
Yes, absolutely.
Next week
Nothing
you can even cancel
You
it.
can cancel next week. I
Next
mean,
week
so many
because
people are gonna
most of them are out of town.
I can schedule you for September 28th. Because I have people coming from the Army Corps of Engineers, so he invited them for the 14th. And for the 21st, I have David from Geography. I didn't write his name here. But the 28th is empty.
Yes, right now it looks like I am available, but can I confirm?
Of course.
Tasha, right?
Yeah.
also October 5th.
And then October 5th is available too.
Sorry?
October 5th. So
Yeah, I think I'm available on either of the days, but let me confirm.
Okay, and just send me an email.
I'll-
Okay.
It's a good
Thank
idea
you.
to put the game days because we can't get hotels at this point.
That's
for
exactly
visitor.
why I put them on
So,
there.
If someone has a visitor, I see 2 people, so and so is inviting someone.
Yes.
They
should know
if it's
what's
a
the
football
deal.
game day, they should know that they're gonna
Thanks,
figure out
Mark.
housing for them.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning the water conference. So I will send an email, cancel for next time, and once we know your date, we'll go with that.
I'll send you in the next couple of hours.
Okay. Sounds good.
I have a graduate student question.
Yes.
So apart from the NASA Earth Sciences Space Fellowship and the Alabama School that graduate students can apply for, what other opportunities do graduate students, PhD students have for fellowship funding? I got an EBSCO, I got funded for this year, but I like writing proposals and like to forward, so what opportunities?
Are you talking about international students specifically?
International students
International
specifically, yes.
students, okay.
Because
That-
US
I noticed
students,
that.
yeah, can do NSF.
Yeah.
There is an NSF graduate
To my
fellowship.
knowledge, these 2 are the only opportunities that as a,
And that's why my students, international students, have always gone for NASA.
Yeah.
That's the only one. Otherwise, there are some very small ones, but they are not going to support you for semester. And there is something Southeast Forest Research Association, something like that, that gives like $7,000 or so. So they are like awards, but these are not big enough to support your tuition or even your.
And unfortunately, you guys don't know because you're pretty sheltered by your, advisors. But in this university, we have to pay your tuitions to the university, whereas in other universities, this is a waived amount. And when we write proposals and we put for support for graduate student, it's pretty much, you should know that, it's pretty much half of the budget.
Okay, so
I'm not saying that we should not have graduate students, just to give you an idea what is the stress on people who write proposals,
Right,
your
it costs
advisors.
like $40,000 to $50,000.
Yeah.
Per year.
Yes,
I'm writing a proposal with somebody at Columbia, and it's $100,000 for them.
and it's not waived?
No, they have to pay the full tuition, and there's 60-something% overhead. What was it? 89,000? Yeah. So we don't have it so bad. Okay.
Okay? Just saying.
But we are not Duke
Not like
or
Auburn,
Columbia.
yeah.
We are not
Sure,
Duke or
that's
By the
Columbia.
way, I have a question for you. Can you talk about the Alabama EPSCoR? I mean, what kind of grant is it?
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's a graduate student research fellowship. All the universities, all masters or PhD students can apply for this. Around 8 EPSCoR awards are given annually. So you get $25,000. You can supplement part of your tuition fee from that. And yeah.
It's a 1-year grant?
It's a one-year grant, contingent upon renewal. However, your advisor has to have an NSF grant for the grad student to apply for.
And does the NSF or is the proposal submitted by the graduate student, I mean, has that to be something very similar to what the PI's project is?
No, it's better if it's similar to what the PI is doing, but the graduate student entirely has to write the proposal, and your advisor just goes through it and makes the adjustments to it. But it's a
Right,
student-based.
it's like NESSF.
Yes, yeah. It's something like the NASA Earth Sciences. Yeah.
So I wrote a proposal with my student as well. He didn't get it, but the condition is that the advisor has to be funded by EPSCoR.
Oh, EPSCoR.
Yeah, so that's
Any
there's-
federal money, basically, right? DOE, NSF, or anything.
Can we?
Yeah, it was only an SF, I think. It was.
Okay.
There's
And
no-
then
maybe
it
this
has
was
to
just
be
a-
somehow related to the project that is funded. So that's what we were told about. It's for 1 year.
And when is the deadline for that?
I forget. I can email you the details.
So last time we submitted, when was the deadline, Danuke, for the EPSCoR?
April.
No, it was March, because I was traveling, I submitted it at the airport.
And they don't pay the tuition?
You get $25,000.
So you get $25,000 for whatever you want to do with
You wanna
them.
do it.
You want to put them in tuition, you put them in tuition. You don't have to submit a budget. It's,
Interesting.
yeah.
Huh. So it doesn't really cover the tuition, so it probably cost you more.
So part of your funding has to come from your advisor. Or it's just that you get $25,000. You can use it to cover your tuition or your salaries. or
Whatever you want to do
whatever
with
you
this
want to do.
25,000. All right. All right, I don't want to waste more of your time. Thank you for